In the lush, upscale suburbs of Johannesburg, the Van der Merwe family resided in a grand mansion that was a testament to their long-standing affluence. Among the gilded halls and sprawling gardens, Sharon Van der Merwe, with her distinct alabaster skin and delicate features, stood out not just for her beauty but also for her condition, albinism. In a society where appearance often dictated one's social standing, Sharon's unique look was a subject of both fascination and pity. Despite her family's wealth, she found herself often relegated to the sidelines in social gatherings, her presence acknowledged with a blend of curiosity and condescension. As Sharon grew older, the whispers about her marital prospects, or the lack thereof, increased. Her mother, Marjorie, often fretted over tea with friends about how no suitable suitor had come forward. "It's not just about her finding love," Marjorie would lament, smoothing the wrinkles on her designer dress. "It's about securing her future, ensuring she has someone by her side who respects and understands her needs." But the reality was harsh. The men who did show interest were quickly dissuaded by their families or their superficiality, unwilling to look beyond her physical appearance to the intelligent and kind-hearted woman she was. Her father, Gerald, a pragmatic man who had built his fortune in mining, saw his daughter's loneliness but felt powerless to alter the societal norms that kept her isolated. Driven by a mix of desperation and societal pressure, Marjorie and Gerald decided to take matters into their own hands. They reached out to different matchmakers, scanning the social circles for anyone who might be a suitable match for Sharon. That's when they heard about Lucas. Lucas Thembo had grown up in a different world from Sharon. His childhood had been marked by hardship in a small township where every day was a struggle for survival. Charismatic and cunning, Lucas had learned early on how to charm his way into opportunities, which brought him into the circles that the Van der Merwes frequented. When the proposal came from the Van der Merwes, Lucas saw it not as a union of hearts but as a business transaction that could elevate him from his life of poverty. The wedding was a lavish affair, with hundreds of guests from the highest echelons of society. Sharon looked ethereal in a bespoke gown, her pale skin glowing under the soft lights of the chandeliers. Yet, her eyes lacked the sparkle one would expect from a bride on her wedding day. They were filled with a quiet resignation to her fate. Lucas played his part perfectly, the dashing groom with a beaming smile. But as the days turned into months, the facade began to crumble. At social events, he would often leave Sharon's side to mingle with the more vibrant guests, his laughter echoing across the room as Sharon sat quietly, sipping her drink alone. His indifference soon turned to open disrespect. At dinner parties, Lucas would mock Sharon's inability to tan during summer, or joke about how she could glow in the dark. His friends, equally shallow and cruel, would laugh along, not bothering to consider Sharon's feelings. Each jest, each laugh at her expense, chipped away at her self-esteem. She began to dread these gatherings, feeling more like an outsider in her marriage than she had ever felt in her life. Back at home, the situation was no better. Lucas's true nature revealed itself in his blatant disregard for her comfort. He criticized her cooking, her manner of dress, and even her attempts at conversation. "Can't you be normal for once?" he would snap when she expressed her discomfort with his behavior. As Sharon lay in bed each night, the reality of her situation settled in with a suffocating weight. She was trapped in a marriage that was a mere transaction for her husband, a man who had promised to cherish her but saw her as nothing more than a stepping stone to wealth. She turned her face into her pillow, tears soaking the fabric, mourning the life she had dreamed of, one filled with love and respect. As the chapter of her life with Lucas continued, Sharon felt herself fading into the background of her own story, her hopes and dreams overshadowed by the harsh reality of her situation. She clung to the fragile hope that something would change, that Lucas would see her for who she was beyond her albinism. But as each day passed, that hope dimmed, leaving her feeling more alone than ever. The cold light of dawn filtered through the curtains of the lavish bedroom Sharon had once thought she would find happiness in. As Lucas slept soundly, oblivious to the world, Sharon quietly packed a small bag with essentials. She moved around silently, a skill she had honed over the years of living on the edge of her husband's impatient temper. At her side, wrapped in a soft blanket, her newborn baby girl, Mia, slept peacefully, unaware of the monumental change her mother was about to make in both their lives. The decision had come to Sharon in the quiet hours of the night as she nursed Mia, her daughter's gentle breaths a stark contrast to the storm that raged in Sharon's heart. The realization that she could no longer subject her daughter to the toxic environment that had marred her own sense of self-worth was the final push she needed. Lucas's disdainful remarks and cruel jabs had escalated during her pregnancy, and the idea of her daughter growing up watching her mother being treated with such contempt was unbearable. With each item she placed in the bag, Sharon felt a piece of the heavy armor she had built around her heart fall away. She was not just packing, she was shedding the layers of fear and resignation that had cloaked her spirit. When the bag was packed, she gently lifted Mia into her arms, took one last look around the room that had been her gilded cage, and stepped out of the house. The world outside seemed different to Sharon as she walked away from the mansion. With every step, she felt lighter, as though she was not just moving in space but also moving forward in time, away from her past and towards a new future. She had arranged to stay with a childhood friend in a modest neighborhood far from the opulent suburbia she was used to. Her friend, Julia, had been her confidant for years, and when Sharon had called her late at night, her voice shaking as she asked if she could come over, Julia had not hesitated to say yes. Arriving at Julia's modest house, Sharon was met with warmth and compassion. Julia welcomed her and Mia with open arms, offering them not just a place to stay but a sanctuary. As days turned into weeks, Sharon began to find her footing. She took up a job at a local library, a place that had always brought her solace with its quiet corners and rows of books that spoke of other lives, other possibilities. Meanwhile, Sharon's parents, Marjorie and Gerald, faced the stark reality of their daughter's disappearance. The news that Sharon had left, taking the new heir of the Van der Merwe fortune with her, caused a scandal among their social circles, prompting a mix of gossip and pity that Marjorie found unbearable. Gerald, who had always been more concerned with his business than his family, felt a pang of guilt, realizing too late the part he had played in his daughter's misery. They tried to reach out to Sharon, sending messages and calling her friends, but Sharon was resolute. She wanted nothing to do with the world that had seen her as less than, the world that had failed to protect her from a man like Lucas. Her family's sudden desire for reconciliation seemed to her not a genuine concern for her welfare but a fear of losing face socially and a desire to reclaim the granddaughter they had barely met. As Sharon rebuilt her life, she found strength she never knew she had. Mia grew into a happy, bubbly child, her laughter a balm to Sharon's wounded heart. Sharon's independence was not just a condition but a choice, a powerful assertion of her identity separate from her family's wealth and expectations. One sunny afternoon, as Sharon watched Mia play in the park, her heart full of love and hope for the future, she realized the lesson her journey had taught her. True emancipation comes not just from leaving behind what hurts us but also from embracing our own power to change, to choose, and to forge new paths. This lesson, hard-earned through years of pain and a daring escape, was what she would pass on to Mia, a legacy of strength, resilience, and the unyielding belief that no one should stay bound within the limits of others' expectations and prejudices. The light of dawn cascaded through the small, unassuming window of Sharon's new home, casting long, golden streaks across the kitchen floor where she stood brewing her morning coffee. As she inhaled the rich, comforting aroma, her mind wandered to the events that had unfolded over the past months, her daring escape with Mia, the establishment of her new life, and now, the budding success of her very own IT business. Sharon had always had a knack for technology, a passion she tucked away under the layers of her former life's expectations. In her newfound freedom, she decided to channel this passion into something tangible. She began by freelancing, solving coding issues and creating websites from the small desk in the corner of her rented apartment. It wasn't long before her reputation for meticulous work and innovative solutions won her a loyal clientele and the confidence to expand her endeavors. As her business grew, Sharon moved from merely surviving to truly thriving. She hired a small team of talented individuals who shared her vision and work ethic. Together, they transformed her fledgling freelance operation into a competitive IT firm specializing in software development and cybersecurity. With each project, Sharon felt a growing sense of accomplishment and autonomy, a stark contrast to the powerlessness of her past. The success of her business eventually allowed her to purchase a modest but beautiful home in a quiet suburb, a safe haven where she could raise Mia away from the shadows of her previous life. It was a crisp, sunny morning when Sharon received the keys to her new home. As she stood at the threshold, key in hand, she felt a surge of pride. This home was a testament to her resilience and hard work, bought with no help from her family's wealth. However, as Sharon's personal and professional life flourished, the specter of her old life lingered in the form of persistent attempts by her parents to reconcile. Calls, messages, and even letters were sent to her new address, each plea for forgiveness and reconciliation met with silence from Sharon. Her decision was firm: she needed space and time, possibly forever, to heal from the wounds inflicted not just by Lucas but also by her parents' complicity in her painful past. Amidst these developments, Sharon took a decisive step towards closure from her marriage. She instructed her lawyer to send divorce summons to Lucas, cutting the final ties that bound her to the life she desperately wanted to forget. When Lucas received the summons, his reaction was a mix of anger and disbelief. He had assumed Sharon would eventually return, tail between her legs, but she was proving to be a formidable woman who was not coming back. As months turned into years, Sharon's business not only survived but thrived, growing in both scale and reputation. The community around her began to recognize her not just as a successful businesswoman but as a symbol of empowerment. Sharon was invited to speak at local events, where she shared her journey, focusing on the resilience and strength required to reclaim one's life. Her story resonated with many, especially women who saw in her a reflection of their own struggles against societal expectations and personal adversities. Sharon's visibility and influence grew, and she used her platform to advocate for women in tech, pushing against the glass ceiling that had long kept so many from reaching their potential. In a world that often values appearance over substance, Sharon's story stands as a beacon of hope and resilience. Her journey from a life defined by others' perceptions to one of self-made success underscores a powerful message: our looks do not define us, our actions do. Sharon's albinism, which was once seen as a limitation, became part of her unique identity, a difference she embraced rather than shied away from. By focusing on her strengths and passions, Sharon was able to build a life that was not only fulfilling but also inspiring to others. For anyone feeling trapped by societal labels or discouraged by the superficial judgments of others, Sharon's life is a testament to the fact that real beauty and worth come from within. It is our determination, our resilience, and our willingness to stand up after falling that truly define us. Let Sharon's story motivate you to look beyond the mirror and see the infinite possibilities that lie within your grasp. Embrace your uniqueness, harness your strengths, and carve a path that reflects your true potential. The world will often try to define you by how you look, but you define yourself by what you achieve and how you impact the world. Remember, in the grand tapestry of life, it is not the color of the threads that matter but the richness of the picture they create together. Sharon's picture, woven with threads of courage, innovation, and independence, is one that will inspire generations to come.